Chapter 2. Vicky raced down the halls, rushing past the metal detectors, out the main doorway, down the concrete steps, and away from the school. She hurried by the Superfoods parking lot where Martin and Frankie clashed a few weeks earlier. She ignored the new graffiti on the store's stucco walls, the flies that buzzed on a trash bag left on the sidewalk, the cars that passed by with their rumbling sound systems that filled the air with bass, their drivers staring at her body as if her face didn't exist. She had no time for any of it. Please let me get there before Mom, Vicky hoped, turning the corner to her block. But as she neared her house, she spotted her mother's black Civic, the car Dad bought a few months before he lost his job. It was already parked in the driveway. The trunk was open, and Vicky could see that it was full of boxes. More were stacked in the back seat. She was too late. Vicky reached the driveway just as Danny, her little brother, stepped out the front door. He was a 7th grader at Irving Middle School. He flashed her a look as he headed to the car. "It's about time," he grumbled. "Did you forget Abuelo's moving in today?" "No, I didn't forget," Vicky snapped. "I just had something I needed to do." "Like what?" he asked, lifting a stack of boxes from the trunk. "None of your business." She knew better than to explain Martin's hearing to her little brother. He couldn't keep a secret, and she didn't want him blurting Martin's name to Mom and Dad. Especially not now. "I just got held up at school, that's all." "Yeah, well, Mom's mad," he said, heading into the house. Great, Vicky thought, as she grabbed a box and followed him. Inside, the normally neat living room was cluttered with stuffed trash bags and musty old suitcases. Vicky stepped carefully around the piles and dropped her backpack on the sofa. Her pillow and blankets were stacked on the far end of the couch. Now that Abuelo had arrived, she was going to be sleeping in the living room. They had decided this because Abuelo was unsteady on his feet and needed to be near a bathroom. Vicky's room was closest, just across the hall. At first, Danny had volunteered to sleep on the couch and give Vicky his room, but Mom refused. "No, mijo. You have enough trouble staying focused on school right now. I'm not going to have you losing sleep watching TV or playing video games all night." "Forget it," she had said. Dad also offered to sleep in the living room, but Vicky disagreed. She didn't want to be the reason her parents were apart, not with how they had been acting lately. Besides, she'd rather sleep alone on the couch than share a bed with Mom, who talked in her sleep. But looking at the cluttered living room, Vicky wondered if she had made a mistake. Even after the boxes were emptied and stored away, she knew there would be no privacy. No place to get away from her brother or escape her parents' arguments. Nowhere to go when she wanted to talk to Martin. "Vicky," Mom's voice cut through her thoughts like an axe. "Is that you?" Vicky braced herself. "Yeah," she said, rushing down the hall. "Where have you been?" Mom barked. She stepped out of the bedroom. Her dark hair was sweaty and clung to her forehead and cheeks. Her eyes glared. Vicky knew not to mention Martin, not when Mom was this angry. "Teresa needed me to help." "Teresa!" Mom fumed as if she'd just been insulted. "I told you this was important, Vicky. We needed you here. Your father didn't show up either." "I'm sorry." "Danny and I had to load everything by ourselves. We're lucky Abuelo didn't slip and fall again," she grumbled, rubbing her temples as if her head hurt. "I'm sorry. It's just that—" "I don't want to hear it, Vicky. Get in there and help Danny. And say hello to your grandfather." Vicky peered into her room and nearly gasped at the frail man sitting on the edge of her bed. He looked as if he had aged years since Grandma's funeral last September. When Vicky was a little girl, Abuelo always seemed so strong and healthy. Now, he was a shriveled version of himself. She could tell he had lost weight, too. His flannel shirt hung loosely from his neck, and his cheeks were hollow and a bit sunken. His gnarled fingers, which once could fix almost anything, now rested on the aluminum walker that sat in front of him. "Hola, niña," he said with a weak smile. For an instant, his eyes brightened, and Vicky saw a flash of the man she remembered. "Hello, abuelo." She leaned over and kissed his cheek. His skin felt like old newspaper. "I'm sorry I'm late. I had something important to finish at school." Abuelo shook his head, as if he didn't want her to apologize. Then he reached out to her. Vicky wasn't sure if he wanted to pat her hair or her face, but either way, his hand missed and brushed the air beside her head. "I'm sorry about your room," he said in Spanish. "De nada," Vicky mumbled, feeling a bit self-conscious about her Spanish. Dad was mostly Irish. Born in Pittsburgh, he never learned to speak more than a few words of Spanish, so they rarely used it at home. Vicky understood it from listening to neighbors and relatives, but speaking it properly to her grandfather was another matter. "Don't worry, Papi. We have enough room. She'll be fine," Mom said then, her voice still tinged with anger. She turned back to Vicky. "Put those shirts away and break up those boxes," she ordered, pointing to a pile of shirts at the foot of her bed. Vicky grabbed the clothing and opened her closet door. She was surprised to see it was empty. Her clothes were gone. "Where are my things?" she asked before she could stop herself. "I had to put them in Danny's room," her mother replied. "He had the most extra space." "Oh," Vicky replied, feeling a wave of anger spread through her chest. "Couldn't you just ask me first? Couldn't you leave some of my stuff where it belongs?" "Did you have to put it all in his room?" she wanted to say, but Abuelo was next to her. She didn't want to hurt his feelings, and she could tell by the way Mom's lips were pressed together that complaining wouldn't help. Vicky hung the shirts without a word. Then she helped Danny move the rest of Abuelo's boxes to her room. Mom put Univision on the living room TV so Abuelo would stay there and watch it. But he insisted on sitting in the bedroom with them. "I should help," he said several times. Once he even tried to get up, grunting with effort, but his legs were wobbly and unsteady. The doctor said he would be this way for weeks, maybe longer. "No, Papi, you just relax," Mom ordered. Vicky caught her mother staring at Abuelo when he wasn't looking. Her eyes were puffy and red, as if she was crying invisible tears. "That's the last one, Mom," Danny announced, gently dropping 2 more big boxes on the floor by Vicky's bed. "The car's empty and everything from the living room is in here now." "Good," her mother said with a weak smile as she patted Danny's back. "Thanks, mijo." Just then, Vicky heard the front door open and then slam shut. It was followed seconds later by the dull jingle of keys and the familiar thud of footsteps. It was Dad. Almost immediately, the TV switched from Spanish to English. Vicky knew what was coming next. Sports. Lately, that was Dad's obsession, especially college football. Penn State. Mom's jaw tightened as the sound of the TV grew louder. Dad had turned it up. "Be right back," Mom huffed. Vicky knew her mother was trying to sound calm, but the way she marched out and shut the door said otherwise. Vicky braced herself. Not again, Vicky thought. Not another fight. Danny shook his head heavily. The TV cut off, abruptly. "Where have you been? You promised you'd meet me at my father's at 3 o'clock, Mom yelled. Her voice pierced the thin walls as if they were cardboard. "If you've been down at that sports bar..." "I've been all over town looking for work, so just lay off me, Yolanda. Okay?" Dad snapped. "I must have driven 50 miles today and spent 2 hours stuck in traffic for nothing. And now I come in only to have you jumping down my throat like I'm some kind of..." "Shh!" Mom hissed. "Lower your voice. I won't have you screaming in this house while my father's here." "It's my house, too." "Yeah? Well, act like it. Right now, it seems like the only one keeping everything together around here is me." "You think I'm not trying? What do you think I've been doing all day?" "I don't know what you were doing, Michael, but you weren't here when I needed you. And now that you're here, all you're doing is watching TV and feeling sorry for yourself," Mom yelled. "Yolanda," No, don't Yolanda me, Mom snapped. I've been running around all day, too, but I don't have time to rest. You don't see me watching TV. You may be writing the checks, Michael, but where do you think the money's coming from? Mom's job as a transit authority secretary was keeping them afloat since Dad lost his job. I know, Dad said wearily. I'm trying. Well, try harder, Mom barked. And next time, if you promise me you'll be here, then be here. Vicky heard her mother stomp into the kitchen. Soon, pots and pans were rattling as if she was taking out her anger on them. Vicky's stomach churned. Lately, they were fighting all the time. Usually, Vicky would retreat to her room to get away, but now that was impossible. Next to her, Danny bundled a trash bag, his jaw clenched with tension. Abuelo grunted. It's okay, he said, rubbing her shoulder with a shaky hand. Your grandmother used to yell at me all the time. Don't worry. Yeah, well, that's all they ever do anymore, said Danny. Relax. Mom's just tired, that's all, Vicky replied, only half believing her words. We better break the rest of those boxes down, she added, getting up from the bed. Anything to change the subject. She leaned forward to help, and her necklace swung from beneath her shirt. Hanging from it was the silver and turquoise cross that once belonged to her grandmother. Abuelo's eyes suddenly focused. Ay, Dios mío, you still wear her cross? He asked. Vicky clutched the chain and nodded. Always. A crinkled smile spread across Abuelo's face. She got that for her quinceañera. I was there. We were your age then. So long ago, he said wistfully, his eyes glistening. Don't lose it. As long as you have it, she's with you. Suddenly, the bedroom door opened and her parents appeared in the doorway. Look, Papi, Mom said in a voice that sounded both very sweet and very fake. Michael's home. Welcome, Diego, Dad said, reaching out his hand to Abuelo. Good to see you again. Vicky couldn't help but notice that her father looked drained. Black stubble covered the lower half of his face. Saggy creases, the beginnings of wrinkles, stretched from the corners of his mouth. Even his shirt and tie looked limp. Before the dealership closed, Dad always looked good, neatly pressed shirts, a hint of cologne, always a wide smile and a joke. He had worked long hours, but he had always been happy and full of life. Now he seemed defeated. Please let him get another job soon, Vicky prayed in her mind. Please. These two making you comfortable? Her father added, as if the question required all his effort. Si, her grandfather answered, then continued in English. Yes. Thank you for having me in your home, Michael. Vicky's father nodded again. Well, if everything is under control here, I could use a shower. Ring! Vicky cringed at the sound of the phone. Here we go again, she thought. For the past month or two, the phone was constantly ringing, especially at dinner time. Vicky knew the calls were from bill collectors. She had heard the messages, though her parents never actually discussed them with her. They didn't need to. Her father flashed Mom a quick glance and shook his head. I got it, he muttered, walking down the hallway. He looked as if he was going to his own hanging. Vicky, when you're finished here, I could use some help with dinner, Mom said quickly. She knew Mom was trying to distract her from Dad's conversation. It's for you, Vicky, her father said then, sounding relieved. Some boy, Martin. Martin. Vicky felt her cheeks flush. She dashed out of the bedroom and grabbed the phone from her father. She paused, expecting him to stand nearby and listen, the way he did when Steve used to call. But instead, Dad went to the front door and grabbed the mail. She watched him flip through the pile and pull out a thick white envelope. He tore it open and scanned the page inside quickly, cursing under his breath. He then jammed it deep into his pocket and stormed to the bedroom. Finally, she was free. Hello? She said, once his door was closed. Hey girl, what's up? Martin asked, his voice hoarse, as if he had been talking for hours. "I wanted to thank you again for what you did today." "I didn't do anything," Vicky said, remembering the hearing. It already seemed like days had passed since then. "You did it. You were really great, Martin. I'm so proud of you." "Thanks, Vic. But it never would have happened if it hadn't been for you. You talked me into it, into fighting to stay in school." "I still can't believe it," Martin confessed. "Without you, I would have just accepted whatever they said, you know." "That wasn't going to happen. I wouldn't let them kick you out," she said. "Girl, you crazy. When I saw you ready to stand up for me like that..." Martin's voice cracked with emotion. She had heard the sound before. The afternoon they were alone in his apartment. "I still can't believe it. Like I said, thank you. You're the closest friend I got." "Is that what we are now, friends?" Vicky teased, her heart racing. She wished she could reach through the phone and touch his face. She knew they were more than just friends, though they hadn't actually said it. Not yet. "Who are you talking to?" a voice interrupted. Vicky looked up to see Danny eyeing her curiously, a smirk on his face. "He the reason you were late today?" "Boy, mind your own business," she said, turning her back on him to hide her smile. "Who's that?" Martin asked. "My little brother," Vicky replied, thinking about how Martin might react to those words after all he had been through. "He's in 7th grade, she added quickly to fill the silence. "But most of the time, he acts like a 3rd grader." "Vicky, I need your help with dinner," Mom hollered from the kitchen. "1 minute," Vicky yelled back, rolling her eyes. It was the first nice moment she had since she got home, and already Mom was ruining it. "I gotta go, Martin," she huffed. "Okay," he said, hesitating for a second. "Hey, if you're free tomorrow, maybe you could meet me after school. We could chill at Nico's Pizza or go to the park or something. I really want to talk to you about a bunch of things." Vicky's heart fluttered again. She wished she was with Martin right now, not stuck in the house with her angry parents, her sad grandfather, and her nosy brother. "I'd like that too," she said, her face burning with excitement. "Cool. I guess I'll see you then." "Definitely. Vicky!" Mom yelled again, shattering their conversation. "I need you! Now!" "All right," Vicky shouted back, reluctantly hanging up the phone. She clung to Martin's words hours later as she lay sleepless on the sofa. In the gloom, she could hear angry voices. Her parents were still fighting. At 3:27 a.m., Vicky awoke to a strange blue light. She opened her eyes to see her father sitting motionless in front of the TV. His eyes were glazed and unblinking, his face ghostly in the eerie glow. Slow-motion highlights of a football game flickered on the screen in front of him. "Dad?" she asked. He jumped as if he had been shocked. Quickly he rose from his chair. "Go back to sleep, Princess. It's late," he said, snapping the TV off. Without a word, he draped an extra blanket over her, gave her a kiss, and disappeared in the dark hallway. When she woke up hours later, she wondered if it had all been a dream. But then she spotted the heavy blanket on her legs and knew it was real. Too real.